G'day guys and gal. When you think of the most powerful devices ever built in 40k, you probably think of Necron world engines or Orc attack moons or even the Golden Throne. Fuck, I mean the craft worlds are pretty nifty, eh? However, none of these are worth a spittle of cum on a horse miniskirt compared to the Webway, the most insanely overpowered godlike creation in the entirety of 40k, by far. It defies the Chaos Gods, the Emperor, and even the Warp itself. It has stood the test of time, endured near constant abuse from gods of multiple pantheons, and still stands as the greatest monument to civilization ever. But what actually is it? What does it do? How is it built? Why is it so impressive? These questions and more shall be answered in today's video. Before we get started, I want to announce something really cool I've been cooking up for Major Minis, the Major Mini War Chest. Basically a box of mystery minis you'll get sent to your house every month. The box will feature up to $150 worth of minis, including one discontinued mini that you can't get anywhere else, as well as a Major Mini badge, while the box itself will only cost $80 per month with free shipping, so you're getting close to 50% off. Each box will also be curated, so it won't just be like that we're throwing in random shit without thought, and as a spicy way to kick it off, the April box will feature a tabletop scale Big E, alongside a number of other minis of course. You have until the 10th of April to sign up on the box before it ticks over to the May box, which will ship next month with different minis. The way I see it, it'll be like a Christmas gift every month. You'll have a steady stream of new minis, some of which no one can actually buy anywhere else, and you'll be getting it for way less than you would have paid otherwise. An all-round win-win. Also, I'll be announcing the painting competition winners this weekend, basically as soon as I edit the video and upload it. Until that video goes live, entries will be open, so if you're finishing up a Major Mini, finish it quick and send it over. There is still time. I've actually been getting a lot of really cool last minute entries. Link will be below. Get the war chest and join the painting competition. Today I'll go over the Webway, its origins, powers, what events have taken place within it, and all those other fun little facts. Let's get into it. When the galaxy first poofed into existence and sentient life began to form, the first legendary beings to emerge were called the Old Ones. These big galactic godlike toad wizards took it upon themselves to be the shepherds of life within the galaxy, seeding the galaxy with life and controlling its evolution. They were also the undisputed masters of the Warp, which at the time was considered a pretty chill place. However, even as a calm sea, the Warp was still a chaotic place where life could not really exist. Jumping in the Warp would still cause you and your soul to burn. Yet the Warp also offered up many advantages, the greatest being faster than light travel. So the Old Ones came out with a solution. Using their brilliant power and countless years of effort, they constructed the Webway, a galaxy-spanning route of tunnels, capillaries, and pathways that was located deep within the Warp, kinda acting like a halfway point between reality and the Warp. Sentient life could live and travel through the Webway, reaching distant destinations extremely fast, while also being protected from the Warp. The Webway itself was made of incredibly advanced, almost sentient psychoreactive material, like a more advanced version of Wraithbone, which meant that the Webway itself became a living being, capable of healing itself and even protecting itself, which we will come back to later. The Webway linked the galaxy together. The Old Ones could be everywhere at all times, with entire civilizations even taking residence within the Webway, as many of its caverns are big enough to house cities and even planets. If you were to look at the Webway from out in the Warp, it would look like a golden tree root system. Now the Webway was not built for war, however it did become the Old Ones' greatest asset during the War in Heaven. It allowed them to outmaneuver the Necrons and Catan on many occasions. See, the Necrons and Catan were psychically inert. They had no souls and really struggled to do anything Warp related. The Webway itself was buried deep within the Warp, so it was impossible to access. Likewise, Webway gates could be closed and open at will, so the armies of the Old Ones could appear, attack the Necrons, then retreat back into the gate and close it behind them. Even craftier, it could let some of the Necrons in, then close it, cutting them off and allowing them to be butchered within the Webway itself. In real space, the Necrons and Catan had the advantage, but the Webway evened the odds. However, after countless years of fighting, the scientific genius of the Catan and the Necrons began to show, as they eventually discovered how to breach the Webway itself. The Catan, known as the Burning One, really wanted to breach the Webway and set it ablaze, so through sheer spite, he invented the Dolmen Gates, artificial Webway portals that allowed for unreliable, inconsistent, and limited access to the Webway. However, it was enough. Legions of Necrons could now march into random parts of the Webway and wreak havoc. The Webway did fight back. It would try purge the Dolmen Gates' force entry points, meaning the Necrons only had a limited amount of time to get in, attack, then retreat. But for the first time, the home base of the Old Ones could be sieged. As a fun fact, the Necrons despised the Dolmen Gates so much that after the War in Heaven, they put in an obscene amount of effort tracking them down and destroying them, with the Necrons no longer being able to make any more, so the Dolmen Gates are extremely rare in the current setting. At the end of the War in Heaven, the Necrons killed the Old Ones, then took on the Catan and defeated them as well before entering their Great Sleep, allowing for the Elder to rise up as the new power in the galaxy. The Webway accepted the Elder as its new master, as they were the creations of the Old Ones, thus the Webway obeyed the Elder's will, allowing the Elder to open up Webway gates, use the Webway without issue, and even seal off sections of the Webway. However, the Elder cannot extend or build upon the Webway. That was only something the Old Ones could do. Thus, whenever a section of the Webway is damaged beyond repair, that represents a permanent loss of the size of the Webway. And yes, despite its power, parts of the Webway can be damaged and even destroyed. When it gets breached, either by Chaos or the Necrons or something else, often it can self-heal the breach if the incursion is forced back. However, sometimes the tear is so big or damaging that it will require that section of the Webway to be sealed off from the rest, like cutting out a tumor to protect the rest of the organism. Now, although the Webway suffered a lot of damage during the War in Heaven, it was so robust and intertwined that the Elder still made great use of it. Their empire was heavily interconnected, and they began building cities and even borderline solar systems within the Webway, as well as having their empire in real space as well. However, the Webway would get its ass spanked extremely hard when Slaanesh was born. The psychic shockwave ripped through both real space, the Webway, and the warp, especially targeting anywhere the Elder were. Now, amazingly, the Webway actually weathered the shockwave, although it did take a lot of damage, any pathways collapsing and many Webway gates permanently shutting down. However, the Elder within the Webway were mostly fine, with the Webway insulating them from Slaanesh. The power of the Webway is so great that Slaanesh really struggles to claim the souls of the Elder within the Webway. For example, when Dark Elder are within the Webway, their souls are drained very slowly. However, when they enter real space for a raid, their rate of soul draining skyrockets. The crazy part about this is that the Webway is within the warp, which is where Slaanesh resides, yet it is so powerful that it can block Slaanesh significantly more than if the Elder was in real space, where Slaanesh does not reside. After the fall, the remaining parts of the Webway began to be heavily relied upon by the Elder. The Dark Elder set up permanent shop there, whilst the craft worlders used the Webway to travel around the galaxy. There is even a special craft world called the Black Library that permanently exists within the depths of the Webway. It's even said that Kagorak, the Laughing God, is able to evade Slaanesh by hiding in the Webway as well. Now here's the even nuttier part. You know the Emperor of Mankind, that near all-powerful being who was bending the galaxy to his will? He assessed that the best way to protect his people and defeat chaos was to use the Webway. Now, like the Elder, he could not build upon it. Instead, he brute forced the Webway gate to open, then brute forced a section of the Webway to remain stable while the Mechanicum built devices that would keep it open. The Webway was seen as the only way to actually protect mankind. There really was no plan B, which just shows how insane it truly is. Now, the Webway can still be breached, mostly by chaos, but it's extremely difficult. When Magnus breached it and ruined the Emperor's Webway project, he needed to be empowered by Tzeentch, and the effort almost killed him, literally ripping off a part of his soul. Other chaos incursions into the Webway, mostly from Ahriman because the dude is obsessed with it, have always been difficult and costly, with the Elder fighting back viciously to defend it and the Webway itself repelling invaders. The Harlequins have a special affinity for the Webway. They have mapped out the majority of it, which allows them to intercept chaos forces and be all-round pests on the regular. It is said that the Solitaires are trusted with complete knowledge of the Webway, including where Kagorak may reside, as well as the Black Library's location. Now, because the Webway is kind of like a blend of the warp as well as real space, some parts of it have time dilation effects, with you theoretically being able to use the Webway to go back and forth in time. However, the Elder deliberately avoid doing this due to its unpredictable effects. Likewise, humans who spend too much time in the Webway sometimes find themselves de-aged by decades or even centuries. It's not clear if that is time dilation or the Webway regenerating those within it that it deems worthy, but it could indicate why the Elder seem to be so long-lived. Now, the Webway isn't just a random collection of tunnels. It does have structure, and although it can shift a bit, it's not like some sort of bullshit Tzeentchian tower. For example, Comera, the Dark City, is a multitude of realms slammed together that form a nexus within the Webway and the largest concentration of the Elder in the universe. The Impossible City was an old Elder ruined city that the Imperium uses as base of operation during the Emperor's Webway project. The Black Library is a top-secret craft world that is constantly moving around in the depths of the Webway. There are also many Elder outposts and minor settlements within the Webway, some even designed as a meeting place where craft welders, Dark Elder, Corsairs, Harlequins, and Exodites can all meet in peace. It's heavily implied that the Webway requires the Elder to stay healthy. There is a Webway portal on each craft world as well as each Exodite world that allows the world spirits and infinity circuits to connect with each other via the Webway, giving life to the Webway as it gives life to them in return. It makes sense. After all, if you had the same tool or device for 60 million years, you would end up evolving to become symbiotic with it. What started as a useful technology for faster than light travel eventually became the foundation of the entire Eldar race. As the Eldar race has diminished, so has the Webway. If the Elder were to have a resurgence, you can bet your ass the Webway would as well. So what exactly is the Webway? The Webway was a solution to a galactic problem created by giant space toad gods, which was then inherited by their progeny, the Eldar, who over 60 million years formed an extremely close physical and spiritual bond with the Webway, which by this point had become a semi-sentient organism. It protects them as they protect it, the ultimate symbiosis. It is the only thing keeping the Elder alive, and if they do manage to overcome their current challenges, it will be, in large part, due to the Webway, the most powerful current thing in the entire setting. Don't count the Elder out yet, guys and gal. They still got some spring in their step. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up the war chest. A bunch of awesome minis sent to you every month, with this month featuring a big E. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more webbed content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.